Aaron Rodgers. We talked about this a little bit earlier. How much does he have left to prove, Harry?
Okay, I had to jot down a few things. I'm going to take it all the way back to 2019, right? 2019, when the Green Bay Packers make an NFC Championship game but gets throttled by the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
You take it to 2020 when they're in the NFC Championship again and they lost to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at 2021 when they had the #1 seed and they lost again in the divisional round to the San Francisco 49ers again. Aaron Rodgers still has to prove that he can still get it done in a playoff setting, that he can lead this team, the Jets, if they're able to get there, to a Super Bowl, and that he can play his best. Because outside of 2010, in which I was a part of the bad side of that, I was the #1 seed with the Atlanta Falcons, and he came into the Georgia Dome at that time and went on a run and went on to win the Super Bowl, just barely getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's far-fetched. That's a long time from now. Also, when you look at these quarterbacks that we have seen play recently or still playing, Big Ben, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, guess what all those guys have on their resume? 2 Super Bowl wins at least.
Super Bowl wins.
Guess how many Aaron Rodgers has?
Uno.
1.
Yeah.
So it's a different conversation for Aaron Rodgers if he's able to lead the Jets to a Super Bowl and he gets #2. That's what he still has to prove.
But he has one, right? And from what I understand about those Super Bowl rings is they don't tarnish. So yes, it was a long time ago, but it's still very real and it's still very much on Aaron Rodgers' hands forever. We're talking about a player who is a year removed from a back-to-back NFL MVP. We know how difficult that is to accomplish. A guy who has been winning NFL MVPs for over a decade, a guy who has done it 4 times, a guy who has won a Super Bowl MVP. He has done everything. Here's the problem. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl in New York, nothing happens. You know what's going to happen? He's going to be flirting with retirement. Frankly, he's going to be flirting
first of all,
even if he wins a Super Bowl, that man's about to be flirting with retirement in the offseason, if nothing more than just to have us all talking about it all offseason long. Let's be real. But either way, he would be invited back with open arms to be the starting quarterback again of the New York Jets if he wanted to be. What changes here if they don't get a championship is the coaching staff. It's Robert Saleh. There is pressure on this Jets team. Even Dalvin Cook wouldn't be a member of that team anymore. And either way, I don't think he'll be a member of that team moving forward after this season.
Let me say this
But it
really
won't be
quick, as
Aaron
soon as you're
Rodgers
done.
because nothing actually changes with Aaron Rodgers.
She knows I have a great memory.
Okay.
And I was on this first take desk with Amber Wilson last year when
Put
she
her
was
in a body bag.
bashing the hell out of Aaron Rodgers.
I was right. I was
You were
right.
but
I
it's
was
just funny to hear
arguing
you
with and I
speak
was
so
arguing
highly of
with
him
Pete.
now, but not
was-
to.
I actually-
You were bashing him.
I was right on that show because
totally
how
wrong.
did he do this past season? I was
He
right,
had a
Dan. I was the
broken
only
thumb.
one. And, I think I'll remember. I was on that show with you, and,
Yes.
and I believe the exact words were,
I think I was
didn't
on there.
realize
I think we all was on there together.
We were all 3 on there together, and I
What are
think
you guys,
my
photographic
exact
memories?
line was, I didn't realize, Dan, that MVPs were allowed to use excuses.
Okay, so let me explain the thumb thing, okay? Because
talking about this
we
broken thumb
did
still, y'all?
we
Come
just did
on.
a segment on Get Up, and on my glove, did I not have my
There's
thumb?
splint, yes.
I had a little thumb cast. The worst finger for you to jam if you're gripping something or have to catch something is your thumb.
Right.
It's the baseline for everything you do.
Right, let alone a break.
Exactly. So I can understand how the thumb may have bothered Aaron Rodgers a season ago. But let's just not stop acting like Aaron Rodgers' worst season that he had last year wouldn't be a lot of people's best season.
Yeah, okay, so
It would be, which is why he has nothing else
all right,
to
so
prove.
let's put context to this. So when it comes to something to prove, are we looking at it, and I'll address you, Amber, are you looking at it through the prism of to himself or to others?
I'm looking at it in the prism of 2 others.
And that's absolutely incorrect. Because, one, Aaron Rodgers, in his own words, chose the Jets because he wanted to go to a place that could win the Super Bowl. The Jets were handpicked by Aaron. He said, I want to go play for the New York Jets. So, one, he's saying, I'm going to go to the place that I can go win the Super Bowl. Number 2, and to Harry's point, the all-time greats, which Aaron is already in that conversation of being an all-time great, never get measured upon what they did in comparison to themselves. It's always measured about what they did in comparison to their peers and with their peers. And if Aaron Rodgers goes to the New York Jets and plays good and has a playoff performance like he did maybe a couple years ago against the San Francisco 49ers, that's a massive disappointment.
Yep.
That is a massive failure organizationally. I just...
Organizationally.
Okay, so let's put it
Not
into this.
specific to him.
Let's put it into. But
No,
it'll be
no.
because
It
Aaron
will
Rodgers.
when
be
it
to him.
comes, here's the thing.
Hold
I'm
on,
talking
Jimmy
hold on,
Garoppolo-
hold on.
legacy
I have a question.
conversation.
Explain this to me. Explain this thing. If we're dissecting Aaron Rodgers and his career, we're doing a 30 for 30 after looking at his legacy, saying, hey, he was more talented than Tom Brady. Why didn't he have as many rings? Are we attributing that to lack of talent around him, the teams he was on, the coaching, the play calling, or him
We'll attribute it to
underperforming?
all
But
of
wait a
it.
minute
Or
now.
is it,
Wait
hold
a
on,
minute.
hold on. Is
This
it
man
that?
had Donald Driver, Greg
No,
Jennings,
that's what I'm
Jordan
asking
Nelson.
you.
Great coaches,
Like, what are
though.
we
He did
talking
not-
about?
he did not have great coaches,
If we
though, throughout
ask,
his
why
career.
did he not, let's just look at Green Bay. Why did Aaron Rodgers not win more Super Bowls in Green Bay, considering the talent he has, and he's that bad man, like Stephen A. likes to say? Is that more on Aaron Rodgers or the coaching and the parts around him? Because some people have argued that he's not a great playoff quarterback.
I don't believe that I don't fall into the camp that says he's not a great playoff quarterback. I think that playoff game that he lost to San Francisco, they threw the ball 8 times. They got the ball ran. So I would attribute a little bit to a lack of. They never had that first round wide receiver. They had a bunch of really good second round wide receivers. Their defense, it's all
'Cause there's-
attached.
there's-
Your
His
coaching
playoff
has
career.
not been elite throughout Aaron Rodgers'
Take a look at the
career.
playoff career.
Right. It's
Yeah.
all
But also,
attached.
I don't know if the coaching is still elite, so that's what I'm doing there.
So is
Like,
it
I would
him
answer Molly's
underperforming, or is it him
If-
not having?
I would answer Molly's question with no, it's been the coaching throughout Aaron Rodgers' career. It's not the talent because I believe in Aaron Rodgers as a player to that degree. In New York, it's going to be the same.
Yeah, I
if
saw
they
him-
don't
I
win
saw
a
him-
championship, it's going to be, it's the coaching, it's
I
an
saw him 2
organizational
years
failure.
ago
It's not
force
going
the
to be Aaron
ball to
Rodgers.
Devontae Adams on a post when Allen Lazard was
wide
running butt
open.
naked open on
the
a
deep end
huge-
cut. I remember that one.
crucial moment.
Yep.
Are you confident that Purdy? This team is baffling to me. All right, because people are really high on the Niners, think they can go the distance, but they kind of don't have a quarterback. Are you confident that he can take them to a Super Bowl?
What do you mean they don't have a quarterback though?
Well, it's like I don't really know if they have a quarterback.
Oh, well, that's fair to say. Like we don't know exactly who Brock Purdy is.
I don't.
I'm very confident.
Incredible last year, but it was the first year.
And that's absolutely fair to say. Yes, he can lead them to the Super Bowl. I think Brock Purdy and or Sam Darnold can take them to the Super Bowl if I'm being dead honest.
Sam Darnold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sam Darnold is a incredibly talented. He's the most talented quarterback they have in the roster, throwing the ball wise. So, great defense. We all know that. Weaponry, Kyle Shanahan. I think the thing that changed for their offense a little bit with Brock Purdy post Jimmy Garoppolo was the little bit of the creativity, a little bit of I don't have to call the perfect play for this young man because he's going to be able to either make the right choice or do something if it's not ideal. Like Kyle was, as a play caller, I don't want to say burdened, but it felt if the play call wasn't ideal in that situation with Jimmy, it wasn't going to work out well. Jimmy's a good player. I'm not here to bash Jimmy. Brock Purdy brought a little bit of creativity to their offense. I think the 2 questions I have about Brock are, can you do it again? And that's a little bit to your point, Molly.
Yeah.
Can you? It's hard to go year. Ben Roethlisberger used to say all the time, he waits for 3 years to see if a quarterback is going to be any good in the NFL or not. So can you do it again? Because, and Marcus Spears always says this, you know, it's so much harder to game plan for a backup quarterback because you don't know what they are and or what they aren't. So now teams will. They have a whole offseason of seeing who he is in Kyle's offense, all that stuff. So can he do it again is going to be the big challenge. I believe he's capable of that. And then can he stay healthy? We know the history of quarterbacks there. They don't stay healthy, and he obviously got hurt last year. Those are their 2 biggest questions, more so than is the young man good enough? I think he is, and I think he'll do it again. But he has to go show that he could do it in the NFL for a second season.
But the question isn't, can he do it again, right? It's, are you confident that he's going to do it again? And I don't know how you could be confident with all those questions that you just referenced. It's such a small sample size overall. He was phenomenal through 7 games, considering also the scenario that he walked into that job with, right? And none of us saw it coming out of college. He handled the pressure beautifully. He gets knocked out very early in the NFC Championship game. We know what the stats were in those other starts. We saw him in 9 games overall in his NFL career. He looked good. Everybody apparently looks good running Kyle Shanahan's system, except for, oh, by the way, that quarterback that they traded all the way up to get in Trey Lance. I don't even think your point, Dan, about Sam Darnold's a crazy one. I could see him also being fully capable of running Kyle Shanahan's system. But confidence, I just don't know how we could have confidence in the player that we hardly know getting them to a Super Bowl. So can he? Yes. Confident it's going to happen? Absolutely not.
I would say this. One of the things that I've witnessed with Brock Purdy being the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers is that Kyle Shanahan, Dan, has taken the handcuffs off.
Yeah.
And to your point, I've seen him in an NFC Championship game when it was the 49ers versus the Rams kind of get conservative with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback when they needed to go down and make a play and win the game.
Sure.
Let me fast forward that to last year versus the Dallas Cowboys. The score is 9-9, and it's a tight ball game. And you see the guy, they backed up to their own nine-yard line.
Right.
91 yards for a touchdown drive to go up 7 points. But it was that throw to George Kittle that Kyle Shanahan wasn't scared to call that play.
Right.
And then Brock Purdy made that throw.
Right.
Down the middle of the field. Remember
Yes.
that awesome catch?
Yes.
Things like that catch my attention. It also lets me know that Kyle Shanahan, as a head coach, as a play caller, believes in that young man. Everyone else around that organization believes in Brock Purdy. He's a guy that went 7-1. The most important thing, and I understand we're hearing about these interceptions in practice, and that drives me and Dan crazy because
can we have a conversation? Stop doing this. I know everyone has a job.
I had 2 interceptions yesterday in practice.
Yeah, but
though,
it's
with
a-
one
it's
in
practice.
training
But you're
camp.
saying like that's embarrassing that we talk about it and tell me,
It's-
is it that we make
it's
a
the-
big
it's
deal?
wrong.
about
It's
interceptions in practice?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
We have to stop doing to all. I see it with Dak Prescott. I see it with Lamar Jackson.
Dak Prescott got killed the other day.
It's
after people
ridiculous
talked
that we're
about,
doing
the
this.
interceptions.
Just to peel back the onion a little bit for people
Yeah.
at home.
But we did it with Rodgers and sacks this morning. Is that the same thing? Is it
And I just-
ridiculous for that too?
Well, I understand Rich Cimini, the point of his tweet.
Yeah.
But understanding that there's 2 backups and a rookie in there are part of the conversation. It wasn't
Yeah.
starters versus starters. This
So
is
it's the
why.
full context. Yeah.
We
Starters might
quarterbacks-
not be available. That's the difference there.
Us quarterbacks would go into practice and there would be a specific agenda of, hey, we've got these new 4 or 5 concepts that we're going to put in. Let's be overly aggressive with our decision making versus these defenses. I know, like you're gonna, if the check down's there, you'll take it in real life. And we've got to figure out. And Brock Purdy, Amber, you said 9 games. He's still figuring out who and what he is at the NFL level too. So maybe there's plays that he's running in camp he never ran last season.
Yeah.
So maybe, it's cover 4, and which is, is a quarter's coverage, and maybe I'm trying to fit it over this hook defender. I got to wait a sec. So he's learning still. So we got to stop doing these to these quarterbacks. This is when training camp should be. We're trying to get overly aggressive with our decision making and the ball in certain situations to try and see what we can and can't do.
And to Dan's point, though, I remember times we would have new plays and our backup quarterback would be in practice, right? And he would take the check down. I'm not going to mention his name. And our coach would dog cuss him out because how do you know if we're going to be able to hit this play with you if you don't take the chances in practice?
Right.
That's what practice is for, to see what you can and what you cannot do. Also, threading the needle. Can I make this throw? Like you mentioned, can I get this ball over this hook defender? Do I have to put more elevation on it? Or can I line drive?
Is it off 1 inch or 2 inch? I'm throwing this to Harry Douglas and not Roddy White. Do I have to throw it differently?
And it's a difference, right?
So we got to stop.
We can just Google rosters, right? Find out who the backup quarterback was for the Atlanta Falcons. Or
Oh, no, I was
Tennessee Titans
there for 7 years, though.
Okay, I was just saying. I thought it was funny that you were like, I'm not going to say his name. I hate agreeing with Dan because it's a lot more fun when I don't agree with Dan. It is practice, though. It's practice, and also, in fairness to Brock, he didn't get the opportunity to come in as QB1 into training camp last season. So this is their opportunity to try some new, innovative things from him, that high-flying approach, and you're not probably going to see some of these mistakes in the regular season, probably. But again, we don't really know because of small sample size from Brock Purdy.
But I think the supporting cast that he has, when you look at the skill position players that you brought up, but also Kyle Shanahan as a play caller, that's an advantage for Brock Purdy. On top of the number 1 defense in the National Football League, let's not forget that. So when you look at everything that he's surrounded by, I believe in Brock Purdy.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.